that have just joined us, welcome to the Future of Work track. We've just had a fabulous session on the future, how to win the future talent war. We're moving on now to our second session of this track, which is about different paths of success available to young people today. And as we know, there's no single linear path to work for young people. There's university, there's apprenticeships, there's the gig economy, there's entrepreneurship. There are lots of different routes available. And we're going to, through our next panel, hear more about those different options. And I'm delighted to introduce you to Simone Johnson of Brixton Finishing School to dig deeper into what young people want from that world of work and how organisations like ours can better support them and respond to their needs in terms of successful retention strategy and also recruitment strategy for those younger people and bringing in that younger talent. So please welcome for our next session, Simone, would you like to come up to the stage?
Hi everyone. Come on.
So we also have Alyssa, Jaffer, Kris, over who you've met already, and also Dorothy.
I am back.
Great. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Obviously, you can see we have the lovely Kris again. She's very popular and in demand. I am Simone. I will be your panel host for today. I head up partnerships at Brixton Finishing School. I know Ali and the team have talked a lot about what we do. We do have a standout site, so go and check us out. But essentially, we're about creating accessible pathways for underrepresented talent into the marketing, advertising, and creative industries. So I have three lovely ladies today. I will let them introduce themselves and tell you guys sort of what they do. So I will hand over to Alyssa first.
Hi, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here to talk about the different paths of success for young people. My name is Alyssa Jaffer. I'm the Senior Manager of Global Communications at Deliveroo for the rider fleet across 10 markets that we operate in. And in my free time, I'm also a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content writer. So I write a lot of articles for publications like Albright, Stylist, Business Insider, The Drum, about issues impacting women at work, women's health, a bit of travel lifestyle, but a lot about well-being as well. So really happy to be here.
Thank you. Over to you, Dorothy.
Hello everyone, I am Dorothy Odugwa. I work at GiftGaff as the DE&I manager, so diversity, equity and inclusion. I lead all things inclusion and belonging, and that spans from strategy creation, and it goes all the way to the people team, marketing, brand, ESG, which was just spoken about on the previous panel. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to having a chat.
Hey guys, I'm back. I'm Kris Kirova. I work at BBC Studios. I'm a brand and marketing coordinator, kind of working with scripted comedy and drama. And yeah, I'm a huge nerd for Greek mythology, and I love Neil Gaiman, and I love Good Omens. So it's really cool to work for a studio that kind of supports that TV show. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
Thanks. That was very quick and short and sweet. So, Kris, what would you say are the biggest challenges young people are facing right now?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is that lack of access. It's the lack of knowing people or knowing who to turn to. It's financial, I guess, struggles and kind of trying to get into work and even just commuting. And yeah, I think those are like the top two, but also it's the confidence to be able to ask for more, the confidence to be able to be kind of like mentored into going into midweight, and just, yeah, having access to opportunities. I think oftentimes we might feel a bit shy to ask for more, but it's just about having the access and having the like comfort space to be able to carry on that conversation.
Yeah, I would add to that, and you mentioned opportunity. I think that's the key thing for me, the lack of opportunity. And I think there's a role for businesses to close that gap in opportunity, which is where I work quite a lot in that social pillar of ESG and around DE&I to create opportunities for all. And that includes the youth, Gen Z, etc. So I would definitely latch onto that piece as well. I think opportunity, lack thereof, and the role of businesses to close that gap is something that I'm really passionate about. And I think there's still more work to do in that space.
Great, thanks both. And Dorothy, how do you go about finding talent at GiftGap and providing those opportunities?
Yeah, I would say that the way that GiftGap does this is really latching on to purpose. So we spend a lot of time, effort, energy, shaping our purpose, creating our purpose, and embedding it throughout the business. And so what that looks like at GiftGap is that we are currently a B Corp organisation, so we got accredited a couple of years ago now, and that just tells the market, but also gives us the commitment towards not just looking at profits, obviously we're an organisation, so that's important, but it looks at people and planet. So we're really passionate about doing good for our people. We're passionate about doing good for the kind of social circles that we're within and the society that we work within, but also the planet. So we care about the environment, we're trying to be carbon neutral, all that good stuff. So I would definitely say focusing on purpose and understanding the fact that, you know, Gen Z youth of today, they care about that stuff. You know, when they're looking for places to work, they are looking for places that care about them, about DE&I, about ESG. And so shaping what you do with that purpose in mind is really important. And so GiftGap's kind of slogan now is up to good. You know, we're up to good. And so everything that we do kind of goes back to that piece of work. And the brand team did an amazing job at kind of pushing that message forward. And now we're able to live and breathe it. So I would definitely say looking at your purpose, shaping what you do around that, and being really honest with yourselves about how you're kind of pushing that message outwards as well.
Amazing, I love that. I think purpose definitely is a big, big factor when it comes to young talent looking for.
Actually, I would, oh, sorry, can I add?
Yes, you can.
I would actually add kind of an example of what that looks like. So we're looking at that social pillar of ESG. A piece of work that GiftGap has done is worked with the Marketing Academy Foundation. Mm-hmm. So our CEO is a fellow of the Marketing Academy. And so we're able to work with the foundation to introduce youth, you know, young talent into the business who come from, you know, harder backgrounds. And so we've got a lovely lady called Najma who's been able to join the business as an intern originally through that. And we've been able to enroll her onto a full-time role now. Amazing. With fair wages, etc. So I think, you know, embedding that purpose into what you do and living and breathing it is really important. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy. So Alyssa, tell us a bit about the rider community you look after at Deliveroo and how Gen Z fits in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that careers are no longer linear. Students, when they come out of university, they may not know automatically what they want to do with their life, with their career. And the world of work has changed and it continues to evolve. And the gig economy offers young people the opportunity to explore different types of work whilst doing their studies and earning at the same time so that they have the freedom and flexibility to explore those options. So at Deliveroo, we work with a rider fleet of 180,000 riders around the world in 10 markets where we operate, both in the UK and Ireland, but also throughout Europe, Middle East, and Asia as well. And a decent portion of the rider fleet at Deliveroo are Gen Z, and especially in the UK. So we know then that young people value the flexibility that work like Deliveroo can offer. And it shows us that our offering is an attractive option for young people who are looking to earn whilst they explore other ambitions or goals that they might have, like pursuing further studies or starting a business or whatever apprenticeships or trying things out, which you need to do as a young person. So the flexibility that riding with Deliveroo offers young people is something that we know that they want. And in addition to that flexibility piece, which is so core to riders who work with Deliveroo as self-employed contractors, there's also no obligations of when or where they need to work. They can complete orders at will. They can take breaks for several months if they want to, and then just pick up the app again and complete orders as they like. And so not having a manager, not having kind of those traditional employment restrictions is such a key offering for riders at Deliveroo. And then we also offer them perks. So one really great partnership that we have in place now is with Links Educate. So we offer writers hundreds of courses, online courses and access to learning, and and that's completely free for them. And a lot of the really popular courses are around things like project management, digital marketing, web development, core skills that can actually help them to pursue a career in any of those fields. I'd love to share as well an example of a couple of writers who have actually, young writers who have actually really built out their business, and working with Deliveroo has actually changed the trajectory of their success. So they're called Jamie and Catherine. They're based in Brighton, a really lovely couple, and they also started a business together called Catherine's Originals. It's a vegan chocolate confectionery. So they would cycle with Deliveroo, completing orders in their spare time on the weekends and in evenings whilst building out their business. And they met at university and really needed a flexible way to earn while still building out the infancy of their business. And at Deliveroo, my brilliant colleague, Kris, who's in the audience today, she did a fantastic job to organize a writer engagement event called The Big Pitch, which actually is a friendlier version of Dragon's Den that we hosted at Deliveroo, where we invited writers who are entrepreneurially minded to come pitch us an idea of their business, and then we would award them funding. So Jamie and Catherine came with their business idea to Deliveroo. They pitched to our senior exec board, and we awarded them $25,000 in funding for Catherine's Originals. And I spoke with Jamie recently, and he told me that funding completely changed the course of their business. They used that money to buy a key piece of machinery to 10x their production of chocolates. And working with Deliveroo, and particularly that flexibility element where they were able to complete orders with Deliveroo, earn a bit of money on the side, but then really focus their energy and their goal towards meeting their goals of building their business, was what they needed to unlock that growth for them. So it's a really great example that I love to share, that Deliveroo can actually, it changed the life of these two writers.
Amazing. Love to hear stories like that. So we touched on sort of partnerships like Links Educate, you talked about the Big Pitch. Dorothy, I mean, we touched on this earlier with the panel just before. We heard a little bit about Hatch, but we also know that GiftGaff also have a partnership with Hatch as well. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what you're doing in that space?
Yeah, so I think it's the same Hatch. Might not be the same Hatch, but we have partnered with a digital recruitment organization called Hatch Digital. And so we led this partnership last year, and we created an academy. So we created an academy for people to come into GiftGaff who didn't have the right quote-unquote credentials. They didn't have the university degree to get into software engineering. And so the idea was the inception of our CEO's mind. He was like, you know, we need to get people into the organization who wouldn't have the opportunity. And so we were targeting bedroom coders, career changers. And I think the thing I want to hit home is that we were really purposeful in what we were doing. We really wanted to break down barriers. We really wanted to create space for people to feel comfortable applying to a job that they might not be able to get, and then get it. So we were able to make a really transparent, clear, and open opportunity for people to come into the business, become really good software engineers, learn, develop themselves from our senior software engineers in the business. And so we were able to hire 11 people. The whole cohort was 11 people. We're a small business. And they were able to come into the business as kind of interns, academy students, learn the ropes, off-board into full-time junior software engineer roles that were fairly paid, which was really good. And so, yeah, closing those barriers is something that I'm really passionate about, if you can't tell. And so partnering with Hatch was a really, really good opportunity for us to share that message and, again, live and breathe our purpose of being up to good for people across society. So I think the link between young people here is that most of the cohort ended up being Gen Zers. So we weren't necessarily targeting them, but I think that the fact that we were able to open up those barriers, we would close those barriers, we're able to kind of create space for people to apply, learn, develop, and not have those kind of harsh categories of have a degree, have the right experience, etc. We were able to really attract them, you know, and most of them ended up being Gen Zers, and it was a really good opportunity for them to roll off into full-time employment. So really proud of that one, yeah.
Great. So I'm going to stay on partnerships.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not going to be biased, but I am. We're going to talk about Brixton and partnerships, and in particular BBC Studios, which is where Kris is at the moment. So she went from KFC back to Brixton, then to BBC Studios. So Kris, tell us a bit about, we heard briefly about your sort of career journey, but, you know, talk a bit more about sort of BBC Studios and, you know, the partnerships and what you guys do there in supporting young talent.
So this is where I get to big up BBC Studios because I love it there. So BBC Studios has honestly been like a blessing in disguise. Like I have the huge privilege to have an amazing team and an amazing manager. But the way that the Brixton Finishing School and BBC Studios partnerships works is we work not exclusively, but alongside you guys to kind of carve out internships for young talent to have a pathway into the BBC, which is kind of how I got into my role, and it was really amazing. So it's just about consulting, being able to be really passionate about creating like clear journey. I'm kind of working alongside that, so kind of pitching in and being able to kind of say, you know, these are the expectations that we should have with the internship. I work alongside Katie Potts, which kind of heads up the partnership. So we have these discussions of like, how can we make the next 3 months like really valuable and really fun. And the great thing about BBC Studios is they really invest in talent. So my manager, Saf, who couldn't be here today, she really believes in talent. She's always kind of invested in me and always supported me, and she always looks for opportunities to kind of put me alongside. So yeah, I think it's a great career journey to be at the BBC, and I'm so proud to be able to have that pathway to have interns coming in and hopefully find their home in the BBC.
Amazing. It's always lovely to hear. Hopefully, you guys or you are going to be staying and having a long career journey. What we are hearing more and more these days, though, is that actually once we get young talent in, is that after sort of 2 to 3 years, they are leaving. So there seems to be quite a big issue with retention at the moment. So Dorothy, what can we do to change cultures in organisations to help with the retention? Thinking about hiring managers, what can they do?
I would say maybe reshaping what you think a career looks like. I think the approach that the people team at GiftGaff has taken is that we accept that the start of, I think 88% of Gen Zers consider themselves job hoppers. So they will be doing that. We can't change that. It's just a fact of life now. How do we mold ourselves to become in line with that? So we use the kind of terminology of the gig economy. We say that we want to create the best gig of gift gaffers' careers. And so that looks like us creating a space where they can learn, they can develop, they can move their careers forward and get that mutual beneficial relationship. So they bring some insight and knowledge into GiftGaff. We impart some development, the experience they need, etc., into their own career journey. And so accepting that as a fact now and maybe not pushing against it is a way that you can attract the right talent for what you need in that moment. And yeah, it's good to kind of think about the long term. There'll be other people within that, recruitment drive that can get that. But when you're looking at recruiting Gen Zers or younger people, not being afraid of the fact that there might be that churn, and it's healthy churn, and you're going to still get some value out of it, but you're there to be part of their journey, and why not be the best gig?
That's an interesting take. I've not heard.
I know, I was like a bit.
Yeah, I like that. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I just kind of want to add quickly to what you were saying about Gen Z being job hoppers. It is a fact, but the great thing about having a really good culture and kind of them being embedded into the workplace is you're creating ambassadors and you're creating a good word of mouth for the next young people to come into the workplace. So they might not stay at GiftGaff for the rest of their life, but you know that they had a really good experience, so they will always recommend somebody to come in and take their place, pass the baton on.
That's a really good point, because people often leave and then come back, right?
Exactly.
People leave and then word of mouth, more people come in. So it's all part of the cycle, and that's another way of kind of viewing recruitment differently, not going by the traditional kind of ways of working in that space, but being a bit more open-minded.
So just staying on the sort of talk of retention and people, they might be career hoppers, but for those that are leaving because the culture is not right, why is that? What does that sort of wrong culture look like, and how can organisations fix it? Do you want to go, Alyssa?
Sure. So speaking as someone who writes about careers, I think that culture, it's really hard to define, isn't it? It's not really something that you can point to. And the more you scale, the bigger your company gets, the more difficult it can be to maintain a culture that you might have had as a startup in a basement, being really bootstrapped and kind of all being in it together. But for me, I think it really always comes down to people and the people that you work with. For me, I've been a leader of teams, I've been a hiring manager, and I also obviously have a manager. And I think that when it comes to, that saying that people say people don't quit jobs, they quit managers, that manager and employee relationship, I think, is so important when it comes to full-time work. And what I value most in hiring managers whenever I've sought roles is, and the same things that I try and embed when I'm building teams, is to lead with empathy. I think that's the first thing. Have that emotional intelligence and meet people where they are, not so much where your expectation of them is. So lead with empathy, I think, is the first piece. And the second is really to invest in growth and development, because we're humans, we're learners, and we want to always continue to learn and grow and sometimes be uncomfortable. So facilitate those opportunities.
Amazing, thank you. Else to add?
Yeah, I would completely agree. Currently, I'm leading a partnership at GIFGAF with SALT, an organisation that looks at cultural development in corporate companies. And so what you said about that development piece is something that we're already kind of seeing come through. People want to be grown, they want to be developed. And so I just thought I'd kind of reiterate your point. Being a D&I manager as well, I think shaping culture, and again, purpose, around what you want to see in your business. It's so hard to change culture, and it's more of an incremental process as opposed to a huge transformational thing. So starting to live and breathe the culture you want to see is really important. Start to pinpoint what those key terms are, what the key themes are, and then start to shape it in the day-to-day, start to shape it in different areas, whether it's in your leadership and management development, as you mentioned, that's a key part in retention, but also, the things you do across the business, outside of the business, really start to shape what you're doing based on those values that you're able to identify.
Can I just jump in on that?
Of course.
One other piece that I thought I'd just add, based on what you said there, Dorothy, I was the chair of the Learning and Development Committee at Deliveroo, our first Learning and Development Committee within the business. And that piece that you mentioned around providing those learning opportunities, I think is so key in terms of building company culture, because you can actually see the impact and the difference. So a few pieces of work that we did, we brought in external speakers to talk about issues impacting people at work around self-promotion or navigating and challenging your limiting beliefs or overcoming imposter syndrome. Topics that we knew that people in our teams cared about, and being able to see the feedback off the back of that, the engagement of my colleagues, and being able to provide that opportunity for them to do something different to their day-to-day and then feel more invested in their job actually was really, really heartening to see, I think, and as well valuable for the business to be able to provide that opportunity.
Sharon, I can see Kris is itching to say something.
I have two quick things that I wanted to say. One of them being, if you're a manager, and you know how we said people quit managers, one is creating a safe space for people to fail and fail comfortably and not feel like they should be, ashamed and kind of worried sick about doing that. So it's one, creating that safe space, and two, for managers, how we said that, especially marketing is very, very white and very non-diverse. If you have a young person from a multicultural background, microaggressions exist in the workplace, and if you don't know how to kind of tackle those things, it's reading the material, asking for resources, and just not being open to asking those questions. And even if it's the wrong question, it's about willing to learn and just kind of listening more than anything.
Amazing, thank you all for sharing your insights. I would say also to add is, we touched on this in the panel beforehand, but the importance of mentorship. I think that can go a long way. You don't just have a mentor at the start of your journey, but through different points of your journey as well. I still have a mentor, I have a few, I have a coach. Give it to me all, because I think, you're always going to be going through different sort of parts and stages in your life where you can learn something from mentors. So that's one thing I'd add there. We're actually getting near to the end, but I have no clue how we're doing for time, so I'm hoping all good? I'll just carry on. So last question before we go to the audience. So what's one thing that every hiring manager should do in order to create successful pathways for young people? Who wants to go
I
first?
can go first.
Go in there.
I would say, again, challenge your mindset. One thing that I'm currently pushing for internally is for hiring managers to, when the role's been freed up, that you need to backfill or you're trying to create a role, rethink what you need for that role. Does it need to be a fully fledged, fully capable person, or can you reshape it into a entry-level role? Can you free up the resource to train up that person? Can you give that opportunity in that space? I think it's great having partnerships and programs that can bring in young talent. However, we don't always have the resource to do that. What's the small thing you can do in your role to create that opportunity and think a bit more inclusively? So I definitely challenge your mindset as a manager, because you can partner really well with recruitment in that way.
My thing to hiring managers is rethink what entry level means. That doesn't mean 1 or 2 years of experience. It literally means entry level. And the next thing is just kind of maybe rethinking the whole CV structure. I think a lot of people don't really know how to present in CVs, present their best selves. So it's about really scrapping CVs. And BFS has a really good case study of Interbrand. The first time that, I guess, when they did the partnerships, they completely scrapped CVs, and 3 of our alumni ended up landing jobs over people with master's degrees and years into the industry. So it's just about the power of showing up with a task, presenting the task, and just kind of showing your character and showing your initiative, rather than all of these things on a piece of paper that don't necessarily matter for an entry-level role.
Amazing. Thanks, Kris. Thanks, Dorothy. Do you have anything to add,
Yeah,
Alyssa?
for me, again, it's just about that empathy piece. Empathetic leadership is actually so underrated, especially in corporate environments. So wherever you have an opportunity to be kind, it's always valued.
Lovely, thanks all. So those are all of my questions. Do we have any questions from the audience at all?
Hi. So I've got a question for Dorothy. You mentioned some kind of like tech program where you had targeted bedroom coders and career changers and things like that. I'm just wondering, like, in that project, what was the outreach? Like, how did you target these people? How did you get their attention and like encourage them to apply? And what was the response like?
Yeah, that's a really good question, thank you. So that's where Hatch come in. So they're the experts in targeting and doing that outreach. So they were on multiple platforms. Some of them were actually kind of youth, for people who are looking for jobs that are in, Gen Z or young. And so we were able to use them as a kind of recruitment agency to place us in the right places. I think positioning yourself is really important. So being in the right spaces is really important. They've got a fantastic kind of database of people as well. So we utilize their own knowledge, because we admitted to ourselves that we don't have that insight. GIFGAF we kind of do recruitment the traditional way. And so partnering with them to get that insight was really important. The outreach was amazing. I can't remember the specific stats, but we had a lot of people applying because of the freedom to apply almost. There was so few barriers. We didn't use CVs, I think. So it allowed us to really get a breadth of people who didn't think they had the opportunity. And so, the outreach was amazing, and we had to kind of dwindle it down to 11 because that's all we could manage. But yeah, thank you for the question.
One over there.
Hello. So you speak about the internships and the partnership between the BBC and that journey that the young people go through. Can you just elaborate on what that journey looks like? Is it progression? Is it almost like how you reach them?
So it's kind of still carving out that kind of internship program, but I believe the way that it's worked, before you start as an intern, you kind of rotate between different departments and kind of work towards a full-time role. So yeah, that's kind of between our partnership right now is kind of what we're trying to do, and just make it the easiest, most accessible experience for them to be able to kind of work their way through, entry level, then midway, and hopefully climb up. Yeah.
Hello. Ooh. Hi, I'm Dagmar. I work for Brixton Finishing School. Really interesting conversation. Thank you. If anybody wants a partnership with us, come talk to me. I've got Red here. I just wanted to ask, a lot of organisations and brands would be doing diversity programs and initiatives, but how do you really make it an authentic partnership instead of it just being a kind of tick box exercise?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge a lot of DE9 managers have, because obviously the business case is that it looks good, there's a PR angle to it, and so it's very easy to be tick boxy. The way I tackle it is partnering really closely. So within my role, I partner really closely with the people who are pushing, looking for these initiatives. I partner with the purpose around it, and that leads to my next point, having a purpose. So I think if your organization is authentically wanting to be inclusive, wanting to care about things beyond profit, it flows through. So you need to kind of do the work inside the house before you start doing that outreach. You need to kind of fix your culture. You need to fix the things that you know that maybe your diverse employees are not enjoying. You need to really tackle that and be honest with yourselves. And that's where, the partnership with SALT comes in, where although GiftGaff is doing a really good job, we're still challenging ourselves. That partnership is about doing an internal audit, looking at what our people think about us, and then tweaking what we can. So I'd say the call comes from inside the house first. You need to address that, and then you can kind of go out there and do those lovely partnerships authentically.
Do you have any more questions? All good? Thank you.
Thank you to our panel for a really interesting conversation. I think lots of themes now from the two sessions that we've had starting to come through around purpose, around authenticity, and around the importance of investing in young people, that learning and development piece as well. So thank you to all of our panellists, and join me in a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Well done.